It's Will.
And James. This is our recap for Amazing Race Season 33, Episode 5, Stairway to Hell. As always, thank you for checking into the Pit Stop. We are so excited to talk about this episode. It was probably one of my favorites that we've seen so far this season. Great challenges, beautiful scenery, and it was fun to watch teams mess up every now and then.
It had everything you could want in an Amazing Race episode, from death-defying challenges, from fighting between partners and getting lost. Everything you want from a dynamic and dramatic episode of The Amazing Race was episode 5.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, it started off very dramatically, obviously. They're still in Switzerland, and when the first group leaves the pit start, which is Kim and Penn and Ryan and Dusty, they rip open their clue. It's a roadblock right off the bat, and it says, "Who wants to get down?" And, well, I think if we would have read that, do you think we would have thought it was a heights-related challenge, or what do you think we would have thought?
I probably would have thought that it's like dancing, first of all. But I'm also curious if my height or weight would literally automatically say James has to do it. Because I have no clue what that limit was for Akbar and Sherry. Like, what was the limit? Because part of me wants you to get stuck doing it. Because initially I'm like, oh, we would have said that I would be doing this roadblock.
Yeah, I think we would have assumed that it would have been dancing. But right, if there was some sort of weight limit to actually do the roadblock, maybe I would have gotten stuck with it. I mean, that's what happened in Berlin with Gary and D'Angelo. Gary couldn't do the challenge of walking down the side of the hotel. D'Angelo got stuck with it because Gary was just too large. He couldn't do it. So that would have sucked had that been me getting stuck with it. But as we know, it was a heights-related roadblock. This was actually a switchback to season 14. Who Wants to Get Down? This leg's roadblock was a switchback where one team member had to perform a 722-foot bungee jump off the Verzaka Dam, the second highest commercial bungee jump in the world, with the Travelocity roaming gnome, which, as a race fan, like being able to run a leg with the Travelocity roaming gnome is like one of those moments that you want to check off your Amazing Race lists.
The second they said 722 feet, I am not afraid of heights for myself. Like, I don't really get scared of, like, walking down the building. I was just scared that they didn't hook me in. Like, falling to my death, that's, you know, a whole nother thing. But I wasn't scared to go over. I was just scared that they actually forgot to hook me in. But I think looking down and seeing how they all just kind of like fall for forever, that is terrifying.
Yeah.
Because, like, what if you just like pull your back?
Or like,
what
you
if
don't
it just
go
like
back up?
Releases chiropractor status, all of your spine stress.
Maybe it would be good. Maybe it would be like a new chiropractic technique. Bungee jumping. Stretching out your spine.
Yeah, that would have, walking up to it, I think I would have been a little queasy. But I think if you had like said, I'm going to do this one, and we were walking up, I would have been terrified for you.
Right.
I get scared for when other people do heights related stuff for them.
Yeah.
I would have been.
I know. I was totally feeling for Kim. Like, the moment they realized, oh shit, this is a bungee jumping challenge, Kim's face, like, so relatable. I felt what she was feeling in that moment. I mean, they even said that they originally thought it was dancing. I think Penn might have mentioned it, but nope, heights related. So going to the actual roadblock, Kim and Penn and Ryan and Dusty decided, let's go with each other in a way. Like, they're helping each other navigate to the bungee jump. And as soon as they arrived to the challenge, Kim, despite being the first one there, they did rock, paper, scissors. That was their way of, what's the word? That's their way of like evening out the playing field, because they helped each other get there. Now, look, I know we got a lot of flack for forming alliances or working with other teams, but no way in hell would I have done rock, paper, scissors. If I was the first person there, I'm going to be the first person to jump. I'm not going to do this like rock, paper, scissors thing. But you know what? If that's how they wanted to hash that out, like, good for them. But I sure as hell would not have done that.
I also think it's really, when you're in the front of the pack, it's really important strategy to ensure that you stay at the front. And if you're not trusting yourself to drive without the ability to ask locals where to go, especially with COVID, relying on another team so that they're always in your sight, especially at the front of the pack, is obviously good for yourself and it's good for the other person. But the fact that you can make sure that you are with somebody else who potentially you could, do a challenge faster than, I think it's really necessary and important and beneficial. So I get it, obviously. But yeah, they definitely did help each other get to the jumping.
So Dusty is the first to jump. And when Kim jumps, I really loved the interaction between her and Penn, because I felt like it was something, I felt very much like how we would have responded to it. Like, I would have been absolutely terrified. Like, on the way down, I would have been screaming the F word the whole time. Like, no, thank you. It's not
The
something.
F word.
Oh, yeah. You didn't hear me when I jumped off the bridge in New Orleans?
No.
I kept saying, fuck my balls.
Oh, watch your mouth. Oh my God, so inappropriate.
Sorry. That would have been my reaction. I would have been so terrified to even jump, especially when the handler was like, you're going to do one big jump head first. Like, it doesn't feel comfortable. Like, that's not something your body's just going to willingly just be eager to do. But I loved how Penn was so reassuring. Like, this is the Amazing Race. They're not going to let you die. And it's so true. Like, the Amazing Race is such a well-oiled machine. They've been doing this for 33 seasons, 21 years at this point. That I just, like, that is so reassuring. And just seeing how emotional he got with Kim, like, that reminded me of how you were when I jumped off the bridge in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah. I was a mess. I mean, for two reasons, because I knew that we were about to win, but also, like, you did it. You didn't even hesitate. And I think watching somebody else and having no ability to help them face their fear or conquer their fear, and that it's 100% in their control, you kind of like relinquish not responsibility, but the ability to be there for your partner. So you just have to watch. And when they do it, you just feel this immense amount of pride, and like, you're just really proud of your partner for facing that fear.
Yeah, I loved that moment. I thought that was really beautiful. And then you have, leaving the pit start in group number 2, Lulu and Lala, as well as Raquel and Kayla. And despite leaving at the same time, Lulu and Lala got to the roadblock first, and Raquel and Kayla did not get lost. If you watch any of their recaps, whether it be Raquel's Instagram lives or Kayla and Dusty's PitStop podcast, you'll notice that they just had 2 routes that they could have taken to the roadblock, and they just happened to go the long route, which kind of brought me back to our experience when we were in Paris. Like, there was one direct, like, highway, faster route to get to Bercy, which is where the carnival games were. And instead of us doing that route, we went straight through Paris. So you think that you're doing the right route and that this is what you're supposed to be doing. But when Raquel and Kayla show up to the roadblock 5th, that's when they're like, oh, shoot. Like,
what did we do wrong?
We did not take the right way. They just took the scenic route, which, at least you got to see more of Switzerland.
When we were in Paris, we would always grab maps from airports. And I'm sure that that's what these teams have done, is grabbing airport maps whenever you can. Our map that we grabbed was a subway map that obviously highlighted the street names of, like,
Paris.
Downtown.
Right.
Like, you're traveling downtown through the underground of Paris, or the bus system. We just had, like, a transit map.
Right.
You needed to go around the city of Paris via a highway to get to Bercy quickly. We didn't have a map that told us to do that. Similarly for the girls, they had that really huge map with all those details, which is kind of a similar situation of being really confusing. So you find your path, you stick with it. If you know you're not lost,
then you stick with
fine.
The route you're on.
Don't try and go some other way. Don't change what you're doing. Sure, they might have gotten there in 5th, but I think that confidence that they had, but also knowing where they were and where they were going is fine. You can come back with the challenges.
The team that was able to pass them getting to the roadblock was Sherry and Akbar. They left in group 3 with Arun and Natalia. And I have to say, Sherry stole this episode for me. She is such a star. We already know she's not a huge fan of heights. She did the roadblock in the previous episode when she had to scale the mountain to go get the clue from the clue box. So this is her second roadblock back to back. And she, I don't know. She is just so fun to watch, and she was so terrified, but she did it. And those moments on The Amazing Race are what I love about this show, is it really pushes you beyond your limit, outside of your comfort zone, to do things that you wouldn't find yourself doing normally if it wasn't for competing on The Amazing Race. So Sherry, you are such a badass. And I think it's incredible that you have honestly done 2 very challenging roadblocks for you and surpassed everyone's expectations.
No hesitation.
No, yeah.
My favorite was, it was right before a commercial break, and she's literally going, "Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God." The whole I was laughing so hard.
And she kept saying,
so
I can't. And then
funny.
She did. You did it, Sherry. You are amazing. And we saw that beautiful moment where, Akbar was so supportive of Sherry in that moment. But then Arun and Natalia, the first 5 teams did the roadblock. They got to the dam, no problem. But Arun and Natalia seemed to be lost for probably, 85 to 90% of this episode. They just got lost. They were going a completely different direction than every other team and didn't realize it until I think Natalia looked over her shoulder and was like, "Are we going to Lugano?" Or I forgot the other word, the other city that she kind of was confused by.
It was a spelling error.
And she looked over her shoulder based on the edit. It looked like she saw the Lugano sign, but on the highway going that way. So I think that's when it kind of registered. We are going the complete opposite direction of where we need to be going. So not to the roadblock yet. All the teams at this point are now in the city, in downtown Lugano, doing the detour. And they have 2, Locarno. Thank you, Mark Peters, for the pointing that out for us. Locarno, Lugano, Locarno. I can see the mistake. I get it. But it's details. It's rereading that clue over and over and over. And it's so easier said than done. So when the teams get into the city of Lugano, God, I don't even know how. Lugano. Well, Locarno is how she got confused. Now you're getting confused.
They were in a town. Girl, I don't know.
They have a detour between bartender race and sausage encase. And I loved these detour options. For bartender race, teams had to deliver 12 bottles of wine and 12 bags of chestnuts from street vendors to a cocktail party atop a 400-foot Salita degli Anglioli stairway, aka the stairway to hell, as we heard Akbar say, to receive their next clue. And then in sausage encase, teams had to squeeze out 9 feet of sausage, then divide it into 4 coiled portions to receive their next clue from the butcher.
Ugh.
Now, Will, if we had opened this clue, we were on this race, what do you think we would have done? Sausage and case or bartender race?
Unfortunately, for my vision, we would have done sausage, but I would have hated it. We don't eat meat. We did eat meat when we ran the race. We stopped eating meat shortly after the race. Now, seeing that raw meat or anything related to animal product, I don't know, it just kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies, especially sausage, because you're filling up a casing of meat goo.
I think we would have done it too, because it depends on what the additional info says. I don't know how many of you know this, but when you get the clue, you obviously have that main sheet that kind of explains in short, the Spark Note version of what the challenge and the tasks entail.
And any additional rules.
But then the other side is this piece of paper that opens up with all the additional info you need to know for each task to help you make that decision. I think depending on what the additional info said, I do think we would have picked sausage in case, just because I feel like it's a little bit more straightforward. At least it's in one spot. You know there's going to be a demonstration, and it's something that I think once you get your groove, we probably would have been able to bust out the sausages no problem. Whereas something like bartender race, not only do you need to find the stairs, you're also going to have to find the bartender vendor, and you're also going to have to find the chestnut vendor. So you're going to have 3 different things that you're going to have to find or get directions for. So let's start with bartender race. What I really loved, again, I would consider this race brain, but if you watched our Instagram live recap we did with Leo and Alana on the Amazing Races Instagram page, I liked Leo's definition of race brain is when your brain just doesn't function and the race is causing your brain to kind of.
So what would you call, so we used to call race brain like when you're in it.
When you're in it, like you got your race brain activated and you are in the zone.
What should we rename that?
Honestly, I think what it boils down to, especially with Kim and Penn, they were just thinking outside of the box and decided to look for the staircase first, so they knew where they were going to be delivering the chestnuts and the wine. I thought that was brilliant. I think if you're ever on the race in the future, that kind of extra thinking is what's going to set you apart from your competition. So hats off to thinking one step ahead. But Ryan and Dusty were there first and got the chestnuts, but they didn't do all 12 at one time, which I was floored by.
It actually was really surprising. There's variables. You're sweaty, it's hot, you're going upstairs, you're carrying a gnome, you're carrying a backpack, you're tired. I get it. But when I see those stairs and I'm like, oh, I need to do 12 of each, I'm going to carry as much as I humanly can, at least on the first time. These boys went up and down 4 times. Oh my God. My legs would be on fire. That's why his calves are so large.
That's why they have a foam roller so they can roll it out at the end of the leg.
4 times? No. Max 3.
No.
3. I would do it in 3 max.
But I think that's why when Kim and Penn saw the stairs, they figured, let's just take all 12 at one time. Where, like, I think
especially the chestnuts.
Maybe had Ryan and Dusty done something similar, they probably would have been, oh yeah, we're going to take all 12 right now. But they didn't. They thought they could probably just space it out. But like Will said, they had to go up and down the stairway to hell numerous times. Lulu and Lala did sausage end case, and I really loved that moment where they talked about their grandmother and paid respect to their grandmother, and a really nice memory of, I think when you pull from life experience or situations that remind you of home into the race, it helps you focus a lot more and you just feel a little bit more confident. And you could tell that with Lulu and Lala. They felt their grandmother, like they said, being with them during this leg of the race. And they just seemed so in their element. They seemed so calm, like at ease.
That was us in our finale. I literally felt everything that we did was like
reminded you of your grandmother.
Taught to me by my grandmother. So I felt very comfortable and confident in the final leg of our season. But I think for them, they just have something greater that they're racing for, that memories that they have with their grandmother, that, you know, it's not just about them having this experience, it's finishing this experience because they didn't get to, and they have had so much life happen in between. Like, they have such a drive to do well that I think they're just enjoying it, but also being able to remember why they're there. And I don't know, having a great time. I mean, making sausage, I don't know if that's fun, but they're having a great time.
They're having a great time. And I mean, I probably have already shown this on the screen, but like Lav said, Lulu and Lala definitely get the most improved award of any team that's come back from the 19th month pit stop. So they seem to be doing a great job at sausage end case. Now, when it came to Sherry and Akbar during the detour, when they were doing bartender race, you know, Sherry clearly was tired at this point. And and they were going up and down the stairs and they were just really kind of struggling.
You know, this is helpful as we frame this challenge, that they couldn't use anything to help carry.
Thank you, Ray.
Anything including the fanny packs. So after this episode, we have wine bottles at our house. I grabbed 7, and I was able to carry 7 just using my hands. Granted, my hands are larger than an average human. But if each person could just carry 6,
they would have been done faster.
You really finished.
Okay. That was our initial reaction. As a viewer, not a racer, we were like, oh, how are they not doing 6? Come on. Like, it just seems so straightforward. Each person takes 6. You're done in one sitting. Someone tweeted, because I did tweet, like, how are they not using their hands for more? Someone tweeted me, I think in Kim and Penn's The Holderness Family podcast with their amazing race recaps. Kim, I think, pointed out, and this is what someone tweeted, so I don't know for sure who said it between the two of them. It was sweaty. The sweat was the issue. That's why they couldn't get a good grip, or they couldn't like necessarily hold the wine like this because they were afraid of it slipping and falling out. So yeah, Ray, thank you. Yeah. So Ray's confirming Kim did say that they were sweating pretty badly. And we saw that, like you were saying too, like, oh my gosh, Sherry's sweating so much. Like she's so tired.
She's dripping.
I know.
Like gross. But like, you know, you're working hard.
But again, another moment where I would say in the race.
This is like the best part about watching the race is that I can watch from my couch and say, this is what I was going to do, or this is what I would do. Would that have happened?
Probably not.
No idea.
No, it's so much easier said than done when you're sitting on the couch. You know, as Sherry and Akbar were trying to find the wine, I forgot who pointed it out to them. Was it Kim and Penn?
Both teams.
Like, we're like, oh, it's right here.
The boys and Kim and Penn all helped each other find. This to me was a strategic moment to not give people information so that you could just have a little bit of a leg up, even if it was minutes. Those minutes when you're all at the same challenge together really matter. So if somebody's running up and be like, where's the wine? I'd be like, I don't know. Like, don't give them,
or you pretend like you don't hear them.
Don't give them the answer. Just give them like a little hint, like, oh, it's over there, and don't point anywhere, or don't really give them anything that allows them to potentially pass you. Say you dropped your wine bottles and you have to go back and do it again. Now this other team has the potential to pass you up because you gave them a 2-minute advantage of knowing where the wine bottles were. So I think you have to strategically choose when you're giving information, and this is an opportunity where I would not have given teams a direction, because I would have known that, oh, there's 3 of us here. I need as much time as I can in case I need it. I don't know where the other teams are. If Sherry and Akbar are here, Arun and Natalia could be at the sausage.
You have no idea.
So
I mean, it kind of like when we were in Kazakhstan doing the yurt building, we didn't tell Madison and Riley about the Lamb's Head until we were already done ourselves and we were leaving the task. So we knew we had some time and we had a little bit of a window to maintain our lead.
We hadn't gotten our clue yet when we told them about the Lamb's Head. We were doing our final check before they would give us our clue, and we told them that the Lamb's Head is right here because we were looking at the example yurt.
It's all about timing. It's all about timing.
It's all about timing, but also make sure it helps you. If you're going to help somebody, if you're going to ask for help, make sure that helps you. People don't have to help you. That is not a requirement. If I ask you for help, you could say, no, thank you. I'm so sorry.
Well, you did that when we were in the Philippines with carrying D'Angelo. Oops. So Raquel and Kayla and Arun and Natalia do sausage and case. I mean, again, that task of the detour just seemed so straightforward that there really wasn't a lot of room to make mistakes unless you were too fast with the sausage and maybe the casing busted open.
I think I was really impressed with Lulu and Lala because they made 6 and you only had to make 4. Did it take up a little extra time? Sure. But it also prevented them from having to go back. If they thought that one of theirs wasn't 100%, they had those extras that could be counted without having to go back and forth to make more to set up their station again. So I thought that was a really smart thing, and it allowed them to finish in second place.
Yeah, I think when you're kind of in the front of the pack or you're feeling pretty confident, like giving yourself that extra, like, let's make a few more just in case.
Especially if you know that it's
smart.
easy.
Yeah,
Because it
that was
seemed like the
smart.
sausage was pretty easy. And I think Raquel and Kayla, we saw they did 4. One of them was inadequate. So they had to go back, reset up their station, and then go back down. Whereas Lulu and Lala prevented that from needing to happen.
Yeah, thinking a few steps ahead.
Yes.
Brilliant. Brilliant. We'd love to see that.
Brillante.
Brillante. No, I know I said Arun and Natalia did that side of the detour, but I feel like at that point, nobody was
matter.
around. Like they were so far behind. Their navigation just wasn't really clicking this leg of the race. So it was pretty obvious like who was going to ultimately be last at the end of the day.
I really want Arun and Natalia to step into a groove or just get a handle on what's going on around them, especially with directions. We obviously know that they're not the best with navigation. They haven't been good in any of the episodes with getting from point A to point B, especially if they're driving. I just really want them to step into that power.
Yeah.
And be able to do well because they're such a fun team and their dynamic as father-daughter is not been on the show for a while that I just really like them a lot. And I hate that they're not performing as well as I really want them to. I don't know how far behind they were from 5th place, but my favorite was even Phil was like, y'all are so late, the greeter had to go. I thought that was so like... Ugh.
And the dog.
And the dog, the cute dog.
That dog, I forgot it had a name. She like, Jake. I think she said, Jake and I would like to welcome you.
The dog's name was Jake?
I'm pretty sure it was
Jake from State Farm.
Oh my God. Okay, so in first place, we have Ryan and Dusty. In second, Lulu and Lala.
You mean Rusty and Diane?
Rusty and Diane. Checking in third, Kim and Penn. Fourth, Raquel and Kayla. Fifth, Sherry and Akbar. And last but not least, you had Arun and Natalia. But luckily for them, this was a non-elimination leg, which meant that they will be continuing on in the race. I am really hoping that being this close to being eliminated second again, knowing that they have this second chance, hopefully they're going to really kind of fine-tune what they're messing up on to start coming out of their mistakes. Like I'm ready for them to kind of like break through and like have this breakthrough moment of like, we are a strong team. We are capable. We're super fans. We know the show. Let's step into our power and let's not get close to last place again. I really think that they have it in them to do that.
I really would love to know what kinds of conversations Arun and Natalia are having post PitStop. So when they go back to their hotel after any of these episodes, what type of strategy conversations are they trying to have? What are they trying to figure out? How to get better at certain things? And are they trying to, change something? Because right now with the navigation, I want to see like a change. What was those behind the scenes conversations that hopefully allow them to succeed? Question though, do we know if they have to do a speed bump in the next episode?
That is what I wanted to know because he never said.
And he usually does when
this
it's
is
not
a non-elimination
you will
leg.
have a speed bump to compete in the next leg of the race that will blah, blah, blah.
Or perhaps they don't show it like they did the last episode with Michael and Mo and Arun and Natalia. Maybe they just didn't put it in because it has no impact on the episode as a whole. Does that make sense?
But that's a little too much editing out. I hope not.
I guess we'll find out next week. Let's talk about next week's episode. Next time on The Amazing Race, we heard Phil say Dusty and Ryan find themselves in unfamiliar territory and have to scramble to catch up. And then the official Viacom CBS press release for episode 6, Say Cheese, racers travel by private jet to Corsica, France, where they go canyoneering through the beautiful landscape of natural rock slides, waterfalls, and rivers on the CBS original series, The Amazing Race. When we did our Instagram live with Leo and Alana for the Amazing Race Instagram page, I really, I think Leo might have pointed out that we're seeing a lot more outdoor and more like these active type challenges. And I think a lot of that has to do with obviously the pandemic and doing what they can to keep the racers safe, but also the communities in which they're visiting safe. So I'm really loving the types of challenges that we're getting to see. And I'm looking forward to watching the teams do canyoneering.
I think it's a really good balance. I think they've done an active challenge every episode, but then also a unique cultural food-related challenge every episode. In the preview, you can see, and like you were just saying, they're going canyoneering, but then we see Dusty and Ryan also cooking. So you have that like really good trade-off where teams like Dusty and Ryan, who are very physical, you give them any physical challenge and it'll be very rare that they don't succeed at it. Like walking around on that top of that mountain. That's a very right up their alley skill that they possess. But then you give them a cooking challenge where they actually have to prepare a meal, not to stereotype, but that could be their downfall if it's not something that they're comfortable with. Because up until this point, I really think everything they've been presented on the race has been to their strengths in a very real way, because they've done well so far. And I think you're always on the race going to get that one challenge that's going to throw you and what you know and your skill set through a loop. Every team has had it, and I love to see it.
Yeah, Ma in the chat wants to know, what did you think the preview meant for Ryan and Dusty? I think it's obviously setting up drama, because I think this perception, the expectation of who the front runner team is right now is Ryan and Dusty, right? And I think by putting this as the preview for next week, it gets people intrigued to see what's going to happen to like this strong team. Why are they making the mistakes that they are? I don't think they're going to get eliminated by any means.
No.
Like, it's too focused on them in the preview to be like, that's the team that gets eliminated. So I don't see Ryan and Dusty getting eliminated, but I do think it's going to be a moment where they realize, this is not something we should have picked. But I like, again,
unless Leo, it's a road, like a route info where you have to do it.
Well, that's why I loved what Leo and Alana said in our previous recap. It's almost kind of like a Hung and She moment. They said, Hung and She were so strong at the beginning of the race. And then they made a few mistakes of switching up detours.
Totally. They put themselves at the middle of the pack the second half of the race because they ended up switching detours multiple times. And they just never could get back to the top. But they're a strong team.
Oh, yeah.
But I agree. I don't think Dusty and Ryan are going to go home this episode, but I do think it might knock them down, where they then have to go after the pit stop to be like, what do we need to do differently going into the next leg? How can we grow from this? What can we learn? So I think it'll be entertaining to watch as a viewer, but also for them might be a little stressful.
I would love to see Lulu and Lala get a first place next week. I feel like they new and improved Lulu and Lala. I feel like they totally have it in them to do that. But yeah, I'm just really curious to see how this next week's going to play out. I think a team will get eliminated, which is crazy to say because there are only 5 episodes in, and that means we would be down to our final 5 already. Or perhaps it's a to be continued and it's just a keep on racing leg. I feel like nothing's really traditional with the Amazing Race this season, so anything can really happen.
I hope somebody is eliminated.
Yeah, but that's 5 teams left and we're only 6 episodes in. So actually that could make sense. Yeah. Perhaps someone does get eliminated. And if someone does, I feel like it will be Akbar and Sherry. My prediction, Sherry and Akbar.
Maybe I don't want anybody to get there's a comment that says that Sherry was the star of this episode. I agree. I think her commentary is great. Her putting up with the constant heckling from Akbar has been hard to watch, but also she handles it with a lot of grace. And so I really enjoy watching her. I think her doing the bungee jumping was the absolute funniest thing that's happened this entire season. I was pacing the living room, laughing so hard the whole time, just because I thought it was great television, but also conquering her fear without hesitation was really fun.
I want to answer Callie's question. How would you rate this episode from a scale of 1 to 10?
I would rate it a 8.5.
8.5. I probably would give it an 8. And actually maybe a 7.5. I think everything was there. Like I think you get, like you said at the beginning of our recap, the challenges were fun. The scenery was beautiful. You got a fun switchback to season 14. A lot of team drama, teams getting lost. But I think because of Rooney and Natalia were so lost, you knew from the jump that they were not going to be able to catch up. So I think it kind of ruins the suspense of who's going to be last, who's going to get to the pit stop last. And because of that, I might give it a 7.5 or an 8.
You know, I'm just going to shout out Ray for giving us this super sticker.
Super sticker.
It's amazing. That means so much and helps us continue to create these recaps in all of our videos. So thank you. I give it an 8.5 because I felt as though we needed one more challenge. We needed one more,
like a route info,
something that could trip teams up that wasn't just directions. As much as I love people getting lost with directions, I think a lot of times, and especially this season, we really haven't seen teams struggle at a challenge. There hasn't been a challenge that somebody's just been so awful at, besides in episode 1 when Michael and Mo ruined that painting.
Right.
That was the only thing. So I wanted something that kind of trips them up, like a needle in a haystack type thing, or something that divided them to where causes more conflict. But other than that, I loved everything about it. I thought it was really good.
Cool. I before we wrap this up, would love to do just a quick Q&A. I know we did a Q&A for our recap for after the race on Amazing Race's Instagram, but there was a lot of questions that were still left unanswered. So I want to make sure we answer some of those questions, but also if anyone in the live chat has questions about what we think about this season or a particular team, how, you know, our thoughts from our experience, we would love to answer any questions that you might have. But I noticed on the Amazing Races Twitter, some of the questions that came through. One of the questions was, let's find it. Who are your favorite racers to ever compete? And this was asked by BenBorn11 on Twitter.
Oh God.
They asked specifically, like, if we had to make like an Amazing Race Mount Rushmore of like 4 teams that I think are Amazing Race teams that are iconic in their own right, who would they consist of?
Oh my God, what's her name? She shaved her head.
Uchenna and Joyce.
Uchenna and Joyce. I loved watching them on their original season, and I think I even loved watching them more when they did All Stars. I think they're wonderful, even though they're not together. But I just really liked them as a team, and I would say they're pretty
and the only winning teams
high caliber racers.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
I'm
gonna have to put Dustin and Candace in there. I think they're one of the best teams to never win. Like, they should have won All Stars. So I think Dustin and Candace are on my Mount Rushmore. Like, they are a solid team. Personally.
God, this is hard. There's so many. How many teams have run the race? Like
over 600.
What?
Yeah.
600 people. So like 300 teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's a really hard question. Like, I feel like I need to go back and like freshen up on all the teams, but I think Uchenna and Joyce is a great one.
Great.
I think Dustin and Candace is also a good one as well.
Entertainment factor, good racing, but entertainment factor, Rachel Riley and Brendan.
They
Like-
made top 3 twice. They got 3rd place twice. They've
What?
never been eliminated from Amazing Race. So I think that they are a strong team.
She has with Alyssa.
Well, yes, but I'm saying them as a
Brendan
team have never
hasn't.
been eliminated from Amazing Race. Let's see. Do you still keep in contact with everybody in the Mine 5? That was asked by Logan Saunders at Log Supakuwaki on Twitter.
Yes.
Of course.
We keep in contact with everybody.
I would
from
say
the
everybody
season.
from the season. It's not just the Mine 5, if you will. Yeah, our cast still has our group chat. It's not as active as it used to be, but we still check in with each other from time to time. We always wish people happy birthday when it's their birthday.
Life updates.
Yeah, and we got to see a lot of them at our wedding in December. So our cast is still keeping in contact. And I know that D'Angelo recently said in our WhatsApp too, like, it's time to get the gang back together. Like, we need to all get back together.
It's the last time we were all together was
2019.
2019.
No, well, the last time all of us collectively were together was the finish line of our season.
2019 there was,
but 19 out of 22 of us is pretty damn good too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Any questions
I
in
like
the
that
live
one.
chat? Which one?
What has been your favorite pit stop?
This season?
So I'm interpreting that as like your personal rest time.
Oh.
For me, it was Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
We went to this, what was it called? The Royal Tulip
Yes.
hotel in Kazakhstan, and had heated floor hotel rooms because it was frigid. James, there was 2 beds, so 2 single beds, so we got, some space. James slept for 14 hours. I washed clothes in the sink in the heated floor bathroom, and then played solitaire on the floor, and we watched Russian music videos all day. Then we had like spaghetti and this huge spread of food. But the pool at this hotel, we all got individual time. Like James and I got to go for 1 hour, and every team got to go for 1 hour to the pool. It was underground. It was heated. It was beautiful mosaic pool, which was really fun. It was a nice pit stop to really relax, but it was great. That was
who asked that? Was that Keanu on Twitter?
I mean, I'm sure that's not what you meant, but that's how I interpreted it.
Hey, the other question that Keanu asked, a really great question, is when getting directions, how did you guys write it down? Was there a method to the madness? I mean, we didn't really stop and ask for a lot of directions on our season. I think a lot of our time was spent more so in airports. Like whenever there was a duty-free part of the airport, usually there's a lot of, devices. And so we were able to, I think one time there was like an Apple store in the airport. So we were able to kind of use the tablets, the phones, and just do research. And then we would write the directions out in our notebook just to kind of skip the process of asking someone for directions, because when you ask for directions, it's going to hold you up longer than just using those downtime at airports to get directions. Like I know when we were on our way to Chantilly, when we were in the airport on our layover to Paris, we met up with a travel blogger, and she put up her laptop for us. We were on the floor with Madison, and we were writing down directions on how to get from Paris airport to Chantilly. So using the downtimes when you're not actively racing to get those directions and write them down is going to save you a lot of time and hassle. So for future racers, that's what I would recommend.
You do get to bring a notebook, but it has to be completely blank when you arrive at the wherever you're going for your short sequester beforehand. It has to be completely blank. And you can write down notes as you're going. You can also print things out at any place.
Yeah.
You can there's a lot of stuff you can do. We printed out stuff at every hotel that we stopped at before getting on an airplane.
I would say most of the time, whenever we left like the pit start, there's usually a lot of time. I mean, that's how our season was. There's a lot of time from the pit start to when our flight actually took off to the next destination. So like when we were in Cambodia, I don't think our flight left for 7 hours. And so on the way to the airport, we actually stopped at a resort and used their business center to print off the maps of Manila to get an idea of what types of things we might be doing when we are in Manila. So yeah, it's, again, using the down times when you're not actively racing to get those notes and get those details, it's going to help you quite a bit. So,
yeah, they don't show this in the race, or they didn't show it our season, but we did so much behind the scenes research before going to any place. And I don't know if any of these teams are doing things like that. I don't know what their limitations are with COVID, but it's one of the biggest assets you have in setting yourself up for success before running around the world.
there's one story in particular from our season that I have to share. It's when we were in Berlin and we were going to be flying to Kazakhstan. We had a lot of downtime once again at the airport. And because we had checked into the pit stop shortly after Hung and Chi and Madison and Riley, we had to stop at a travel agency to get our tickets to go to Kazakhstan. And we ended up being at the travel agency at the same time as Hung and Chi and Madison and Riley. And so we said, let's all go together to an airport hotel, use their business center, get the directions that are necessary, and compare notes. So our 3 teams ended up going to an airport hotel, printed off maps, looked up what Almaty was known for, just to kind of get our head in that mindset of like what we might actually be getting ourselves into, just so we were prepared. And we were there for probably 2 to 3 hours. By that time, all the teams had left the pit start, so we knew we couldn't show up at the airport at the same time together, just because that would have raised a lot of suspicions. So we actually staggered the times we showed up to the airport. And so we entered through different doors of the airport, so no one suspected anything, and nobody did. And when people were like, you guys left the pit start 4th, why are you showing up last to the airport? We were like, oh, our driver was so wonderful. He gave us a nighttime tour of the area of Berlin we were in, and like that was that. Yeah. I do want to talk about one thing, bringing it back to 33 before we wrap up this recap. I think it might have been Ray. Ray mentioned this new start method is interesting, groups leaving only 15 minutes apart. Yeah, I think that I don't hate it.
Hi, Lulu. Hi, Lala.
Hi. Oh my gosh.
So in our season of the race, and obviously this is what we can refer to because coming in first place or 10th place didn't benefit you going into the next leg, because every episode of our season was an equalizer. We were always on the same flight. We were always doing everything together. Yeah. So it didn't matter what place you came in, because you would start the next leg of the race together. I think starting in 15-minute increments is what they should have been doing at airports when teams left airports, to keep that, piece of it relevant in the race, like where you finish in the race. I think it's great for the teams who do come in first place. There's more of an incentive. Yes, you'll win a trip or a prize, but also you have 15 minutes to, be in front of teams 3 and 4 or 5 and 6, 30 minutes in front of them. I think it's a huge benefit that they should have been doing for a while.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I think it's great, especially because I think this season's so different, and obviously they were in Switzerland back-to-back legs. I think leaving in 15-minute increments was a smart change to do. And now with this chartered flight situation, if I remember reading an article correctly with Elise and Bertram, they mentioned that they staggered times leaving the airport as well. I think it's a change that's necessary, and it gives you, like Will said, a little bit more incentive to actually fight to get a better placement, because our whole philosophy through 32 was, as long as you're not last, who cares what place you're in? That's why a lot of the social dynamics you saw with the alliances forming happened, is because every leg was an equalizer. So whatever you could do to maximize your lead or not get last, you're going to take advantage of. So I like these changes, and I look forward to seeing how it might impact this season overall, or if it continues moving to future seasons of the race. Oh, Lulu and Lala, I love this. We never knew where we were flying to. It made it hard to get info about popular landmarks. Yeah, that completely changes like what we were just saying.
We're going to
doing
get on an
research.
airplane.
I know. And with chartered flights too. I mean, when we were flying on airplanes, we always would tear maps out of like those little airplane magazines, maps of different areas of the city. We would watch like the different documentaries of like, you know, on the in-flight media to know where we were going and get an idea of where we were going. But this completely changes it.
That's really hard.
I would get so, I like doing research. I'm very hands-on like that. So that would have drove me nuts. That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. I think that wraps up our recap, though.
Yeah, no, it was fun. That was fun.
Yeah,
it was a great episode. Lulu and Lala are killing it.
Yeah, we are loving y'all. You guys are doing such a great job, and I'm hoping you get a first place next week. I feel like you're due for it. You've clearly shown the most growth and improvement than any other team, and it's just, and you guys are so fun to watch.
It just looks like y'all are having a great time, which is really fun to watch. So.
Yeah. And of course, before I wrap up, if you want to know, there are so many different recaps out there. If you want a good resource for that, I definitely recommend RTV Warriors or the Supakuwakius blog online, just because they have a list of all the recaps that are going on for this season. And there are at least over 20. There's so many.
I always recommend watching whatever teams are currently on the season. For instance, Lulu and Lala, they do recaps. Arun and Natalia talk about
Holderness family,
and then the PitStop podcast with Dusty and Kayla. All of those are going to give you such a great understanding of what racing during season 33 was like. So I highly recommend watching any of those recaps before diving into the others.
Yeah, I echo what Will said. Their perspectives are the only ones that matter.
Totally,
so
100%.
Watch their recaps. But yeah, that's our recap for this week. We will be doing after the race on the Amazing Races Instagram page Friday at 1 p.m. So make sure to check that out. And we always do fan and viewer questions there. So if you want to ask us questions, make sure to tweet the Amazing Races Twitter page. Otherwise, we'll be back with an all-new recap next weekend for episode 6. And hopefully we'll have a special guest with us then as well. So y'all have a great week, and we'll see y'all soon.
Bye.